In our last episode, we discovered the culprit who was stealing water from the NCR. After bringing him to justice, we find ourselves with only one mystery yet to resolve, and that's to find out who's stealing equipment from the NCR at Camp McCarran. Both Captain Ronald Curtis and Lieutenant Boyd told us that they held Sergeant Contreras with suspicion, and so he is the first man we will interview. To find him, we travel through the concourse at Camp McCarran, all the way to the southernmost corner to enter the supply shack. Inside, we find Sergeant Daniel Contreras standing by some supply racks.
You look like someone in need of a reliable supplier.
What kind of supplies do you have in mind?
Are you implying I have some kind of secret under-the-table stash I only offer to certain clients? Because that could get a man in trouble.
He has the same response, whether we pass a 50 speech check or bribe this guy with 50 caps, to say, maybe some caps will clarify things.
Now you're talking my language. I do have an expanded inventory for people I can trust. If you're willing to do a little legwork for me, I could give you access to my stash and at a discount. Many of these items aren't available in the NCR, and you'll be hard-pressed to find them at a better price anywhere else.
That sounds good to me. What do you need done?
Well, I can't exactly go wandering off the base whenever I want, you know. They're already suspicious. I can hear the MPs now. Gee, Contreras, I didn't know you had so many friends in the gun runners. Speaking of which, guess your first stop. You're just passing a little note to a man named Isaac for me. I want to know which girl he likes.
I'll do it.
Great, let me know what he says. They're almost a straight shot north from here, up past the sharecroppers.
He gives us a note to bring to the gun runners. Isaac, I need to increase the number of weapons and crates of ammunition from our previous arrangement. Things might heat up with Caesar's Legion again, and we'd like to be prepared. We need to increase the number of weapons by 25% and ammunition by 50%. Contreras. Well, I have no desire to get into some shady dealings with Contreras, but he may be a small fry in a bigger operation, so I'm gonna play along with Contreras for now to see if we can expose more of the theft ring. To find out more information, we can head upstairs and hack into his average locked NCR supply database terminal. Inside, we find an option to download the weapons manifest. They have 50 hunting rifles, 28 in use, 10 in repair, and 8 in storage. Asterisks? 50 assault rifles, 25 in use, 6 in repair, and 12 in storage. Asterisks? 20 battle rifles, 10 in use, 2 in repair, 5 in storage. Asterisks? Increase Gunrunner's weapons shipment and modify manifests to make these numbers match the earlier totals. Boyd is getting too suspicious. So he's doctoring the books to hide the fact that he's doing something with the weapons in storage. Selling them for personal gain, perhaps? Well, before we do anything rash, let's go ahead and follow up with Isaac from the Gunrunners, see what he has to say. We find him at an ammunition bench just outside the Gunrunners' shop.
Can I help you?
So, you work for the Gunrunners?
For around 5 years now. I handle the supply end of things, raw materials and stuff.
Who are the Gunrunners?
Makers of the finest high-grade weapons and ammunition in the wasteland. If you ever get your hands on a piece of sweet, deadly hardware, there's a good chance that it came from one of our factories.
Any chance I could get a tour of the Gunrunners' factory?
None whatsoever. Everything inside the fence is off limits, and the guards have strict orders to shoot to kill. A lot of our high-end weaponry comes from pre-war military schematics. If our competition got a hold of them, it'd be bad for business.
We actually infiltrated the Gunrunners' factory in my previous video about the Crimson Caravan. And indeed, if they catch us snooping around, they are shoot on sight. But we have no need to infiltrate their factory now, so instead, we'll continue by saying, who's in charge of the Gunrunners?
Out here, we don't have bosses. Me, the gunsmiths, and the guards all know what we're supposed to be doing. Working for the Gunrunners is a sweet job. None of us would dare screw it up.
Contreras sent me. McCarran needs a lot more guns and ammo.
Shit, is he serious? The 25% increase in weapons is doable, but a 50% increase in ammunition is nuts. Just don't have the supplies on hand to meet that kind of demand for new weapons.
Maybe I can help you out with those supplies.
Well, I guess so. Look, we just need metal, and lots of it. We can handle the weapons, but we just need extra scrap to melt down for the bullets. I'll give you some caps for each piece of metal you bring me. Anything like scrap, cans, or any basic junk made of metal will do. I'll need at least 100 pieces to have enough for the bullets. I'll cash in whatever you got until we have enough. Good luck.
We could go hunting around the wasteland looking for scrap metal to turn into Isaac, or we can pass a couple of checks. We can pass a barter check of 80 to say, why don't you arrange a temporary supply deal with other merchants? It'll still lead to a profit for you.
I guess we'll have to. If Caesar's Legion drives the NCR from the area, there goes 90% of our business. I don't like the idea of buying supplies from our competition, but it's only temporary. We'll call in extra supplies from our distributors. Let Contreras know we'll have the extra guns and ammo ready for the next shipment.
Or an 80 speech check to say, gun runners are skilled enough to refurbish weapons like new, right? You're overthinking this.
You're right. I suppose we could refurbish used and damaged weapons to fill the order. They'll be in like-new condition, and then we can use our loader to make fresh ammo from spent brass. We'll have to wait a few days for gunpowder, but this might just work out. Tell Contreras the extra guns and ammo will be in the next shipment.
Either way, we get him to agree. But it sounds like he doesn't realize what Contreras is doing with these extra weapons. He thinks this is a legitimate order from the NCR. So with Isaac, the trail goes cold. With his agreement, however, we can head back to Daniel Contreras and tell him the good news.
So you're back.
Isaac said they'll have the extra guns and ammo in the next shipment.
Very professional. I like that. Maybe you can handle something bigger.
So that's it? A few caps and another errand?
You're right. I'm just an under-the-table arms dealer. What could I possibly offer you? A drifting mercenary. Sorry for wasting your time.
All right, what's the job?
Great. The Crimson Caravan has something ready for me. Look for Blake and let him know you're picking up Contreras' medical supplies.
Sounds simple enough. I'll get right on it.
Thanks. Don't come back until you have it. Crimson Caravan is just northeast of the gun runners. Blake's usually in the main office.
He hands us a note about the medical supplies. Blake, I need the usual package of medical supplies. You can trust this person with this note to get it to me in one piece. I know. You'll need a payment for the next order. I'll take care of that in a few days. Contreras. Well, maybe the trail continues with the Crimson Caravan. We already know that they make morally gray business decisions in their own interest. So heading to the Crimson Caravan, we find Blake peddling his goods outside the main shack.
Hey there. You looking to buy or sell?
And that's right. We recall that Blake was one of the fellows whom Farber told us to check in with to get shipments of fresh meat for the troops. Remember, we saw the chef Farber in the cafeteria of the concourse, and he asked for our help with his food supply problem. We can take care of that by saying, McCarran needs a regular shipment of Brahmin meat and spices for the mess hall.
Won't be a problem. We have plenty of spice traders working with us back home, and we could get meat from the local Brahmin ranchers. The bigger issue is payment. To supply the camp with meat will cause some serious caps.
We have a number of options, all which result in the same thing. We can say, McCarran has plenty of caps to cover the shipment. They'll deal with the cost.
Excellent. We should be able to get the shipment started in about a week.
Or we can pass a barter check of 50 to say McCarran is overstocked with water and fresh vegetables. Arrange for a 2-for-1 trade.
That should work. We'll do a weighted exchange based on the going value of meat and vegetables. Water is invaluable in this dusty hole. Let McCarran know they should expect the first shipment in a week or so.
Or we can pass a 70 speech check to say, give them a deal on the price. You'll have the upper hand in the future, which is more important for negotiations.
Well, the Fargo traders have been trying to edge us out on the new armor contract for the troops. This could swing things in our favor. All right, let McCarran know they should expect the first shipment in a week or so.
This speech check gives the NCR the best deal, but no matter which choice we make, we can proceed with the unmarked quest. But next we have to talk with him about the medical supplies. Contreras sent me for some medical supplies.
Here you go. Let him know he needs to make another payment if he wants more of this stuff.
Is there something special about these supplies?
Well, painkillers are easy to come by, but it isn't easy finding iodine, allergy meds, and a few of these other items. Why do you ask?
We noticed something about these supplies and we can mention it to Blake. He has the same response, so we'll pass a medicine check of 25 to say some of those could be combined with other chemicals to make drugs.
Really? Huh. Never thought of that. The Crimson Caravan isn't really in the drug business.
Seems like the manufacturing of chems never even occurred to the Crimson Caravan, which means they're not in on this. So again, the trail goes cold. But while we're out and about, we might as well check up on the other food merchants whom Farber mentioned might be willing to supply the NCR with fresh meat. The next one we can talk with is Ruby Nash at Prim.
Welcome back. Good to see you again.
McCarran's mess hall needs more variety. Could we work out a deal?
Well, business is pretty light and I'd welcome the income. But I'll need a lot of caps to buy the necessary supplies. 200 caps would get me started.
To get her support, we have to pass either a barter check or a speech check. If we pass the barter check, we give her 100 of our own caps and say, 200 seems a bit steep. How about 100?
You drive a hard bargain. But 100 caps will do until we get a regular deal worked out with McCarran.
Or we can pass a much harder speech check to say, McCarran has more vegetables and water than they know what to do with.
Fresh food and water is worth its weight in gold. You've got yourself a deal. Let McCarran know they'll have fresh snacks coming in a few days. I'll pick up the produce at that time as well.
Either way, she agrees to send the snacks. The final person we can check in with is Fitz at the Grub and Gulp rest stop. This is a minor location that I hadn't even discovered yet. We find it on the road heading north by the Crimson Caravan.
Welcome to the Grub and Gulp.
What is this place?
Just a little rest stop that me and my good friend Lupe set up. Last stop on your way into New Vegas, first stop on your way out. That's what I say.
So how's business?
I do decent enough. The NCR patrols usually stop by for a quick bite, and travelers like yourself pass by a couple times a week.
We can then question Fitz to get a few locations marked on our map if we haven't found them yet. From Fitz, we can get the locations of the Gunrunners and the New Vegas Medical Clinic. We can explore his inventory.
Sure thing. Anything else I can do for you?
And he doesn't have a whole lot, a little bit of meat and a small amount of caps. We can then say, McCarran is looking for a regular delivery of meat from local merchants.
Really? Well, I obviously couldn't supply enough to feed the entire camp, but I'm game. What kind of caps are we talking here?
We then find 3 ways to get this guy to agree. They all have the same result. We can simply say, Corporal Farber said they can pay you the going market price in caps.
Hey, that sounds good to me. No more wasted meat just laying around to rot. I can keep my stock fresh and keep the caps flowing.
Or we can pass a 60 barter check to say, they have tons of vegetables and water. How about expanding your business?
Expanding isn't a bad idea. Maybe I could open up a small cafe restaurant with the more diverse inventory.
Or a speech check of 60 to say McCarran could work out a regular exchange of fresh vegetables and clean water.
Rations do get tight from time to time, and it would be nice to keep a regular stock of goods. If I get a big delivery brought in, I'll be sure to send a good chunk of it off to McCarran right away. Tell Farber I'll try and have the first shipment sorted in a week or 2.
No matter what we choose, he agrees to the deal. He has a business partner manning a stall nearby. This is Lupe. She's not necessary to question for this quest, but she does tell us a bit of interesting information about the local politics.
You need water? I got water, clean and fresh, straight from Lake Mead. If you're low on caps, I've also got slightly irradiated wasteland water. A little fallout never killed anybody.
Where do you get your water?
The NCR fixed up the pipe network pretty good, and water merchants like me are allowed to have some of it to sell. If we have a water license, of course. Still, it beats the inconvenience of having to trek all the way to the lake to resupply.
Are there many water merchants around here?
There's a few independent ones like me, but it's mostly the big trading outfits that deal in water, like the Crimson Caravan Company.
Do you get a lot of customers?
The caravans or NCR patrols usually don't stop, but we usually get people like yourself wandering on by a few times a week.
She can then tell us a bit more about local information, gossip about New Vegas and the Fiends, and she can mark the location of Camp McCarran on our map if we haven't found it already. With that, we secure 3 shipments of fresh meat for the troops at Camp McCarran. We only needed to get 1 to satisfy Farber, but 3 shipments is better for the troops. Heading back to McCarran, we find Farber sitting down to an evening meal.
Hey, back for seconds, huh?
I found a merchant named Fitz who agreed to sell meat to McCarran. If we didn't choose the speech or barter check and simply told Fitz that the NCR would pay the going rate, Farber says,
Good. That should help diversify things. It may be a bit gamey, but I can use it for stews and kebabs.
However, he responds the same way if we chose either the speech or barter check. If we did, Farber says,
Great. What he sells might be a bit gamey, but I can use it for stews and kebabs.
If we chose the barter option to convince Mrs. Nash to sell meat to the NCR at a reduced price, Farber says,
Great. Small price to pay in caps for a little variety in our weekly menu.
If instead we pass the speech check to convince Mrs. Nash to trade meat for vegetables and water, Farber says,
That'll save us some caps and help offload a bit of our overstock.
And finally, if we told Blake that the NCR would be willing to buy meat at a standard price, Farber says,
Good to hear. That should cover the majority of the supply.
If instead we pass the barter check to convince Blake to trade the meat for vegetables and water, Farber says,
That should help balance our stock of food more reasonably and save us a ton of caps. Good work.
and if we passed the speech check to convince Blake that he could increase the Crimson Caravan's local power by selling the meat at a steep discount to the NCR, Farber says,
You managed to swing us a discount and cover the majority of the meat supply we need. Good work.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter which bargain we made with any of the vendors. We can still complete it no matter what we chose. With that, we get some NCR fame, but Farber still needs our help. Remember, we need to find some spices to improve the mood of the troops. We'll tackle that in a bit, but since we're here, let's head back to the supply shack to tell Contreras about those medical supplies.
So you're back.
And we can mention that we've connected a few dots. We can say, Hey, Contreras, these medical supplies look like chem ingredients.
Really? I never noticed that. I'm just following orders here, moving supplies as needed.
Oh, you never realized that, huh? Bull crap. If you're moving drugs, I'm gonna have to report you.
Whoa there, kiddo. No need to blow things out of proportion. I'm just selling certain ingredients on the side, not chems. Besides, it's not like drugs are a big deal. Alcohol is just as bad, yet it is perfectly legal in the NCR. I'm just a businessman doing business.
We could assume his innocence and say, yeah, I agree about that alcohol.
Good. Does that mean you have those supplies?
Or we can say, I don't really agree with you, but I'm not interested in moving drugs for you.
Fine, piss off then. I thought we had a good thing going here, but it looks like you're just a goody-goody.
Or we can be firm and say, the law is the law. I'm done doing business with you.
Now see, that's just downright unfriendly of you. I just can't let you go shooting your mouth off to Boyd now, can I?
Looks like great time's over.
In which case he turns hostile, and we have to kill him. But by doing so, we lose a very important merchant, and we lose the only lead we have, so for now we need to play along. But to do so without simply giving him the medical supplies, we could call him a liar and say, I want a cut in this action.
You're one pushy son of a bitch, I'll give you that. All right, here are some caps to keep your mouth shut. There's a lot of money to be made, and I'm not afraid to share it with reliable folks. Just keep the busters out of this, and we're good. So you got the package then? I need to get that sorted and then set off in a few days.
With that, he gives us 100 bottle caps, and we hand over the medical supplies from the Crimson Caravan.
See, you're practically stealing caps from me. This work is so easy. There's one more job. It's a little more complicated, but I think you're up to it. I need to get some stuff sorted around. Gonna take me a day or two, so just stop back in a few days.
Well, hey, I'm ready for the next task.
Well, I'm not. Come back tomorrow and the stuff will be ready to transport.
So we need to wait a bit until Contreras is ready. If we're done with this slimy snake, we can use this time to head back to Lieutenant Boyd and turn him in. I have proof that Sergeant Contreras is involved in criminal activity.
That may be the worst-kept secret on the base. I'd be more surprised if you had proof he wasn't involved in criminal activity. But if you have proof, you're the envy of every MP stationed here. What'd you find?
Well, he admitted to manufacturing and selling chems.
He's trafficking chems? I don't know how he thought he could get away with that.
Or if we hacked his computer, we can say, I hacked into his computer and found evidence that he's selling NCR guns.
Little bastard. I'm sure some of those find their way into the hands of our enemies, too. All right, thanks for telling me. I'm gonna have him rounded up. Pretty impressive work there. Wish I could keep you around. But for helping me nail this guy, I think you should have a little keepsake. Here. It's not contraband, but I confiscated it from Contreras last week because he was being smarmy and I was sick of his bullshit.
We gain NCR fame, and she gives us a unique weapon called this machine, which we'll talk about a little bit later. If we come back a few days later, we find Contreras in a cell right next to Tom Anderson. The cell is inaccessible, but if we angle things just right, we can still talk with Contreras as a merchant. However, once he's in a cell, his inventory doesn't restock. But instead of going down this route, I want to continue working with Contreras to find out exactly where this rabbit trail leads. So coming back a day or so later...
So you're back.
I'm ready for the next task.
All right. I need you to pass something off to a merchant. The guy's name is Price. The exchange goes down at Miguel's pawn shop in Westside. This next bit is very important. He's paranoid, maybe a little schizo. You have to identify yourself with a passcode or he'll shoot you right there. Just tell him you're looking for some betting advice. Then he'll say the surest move is to bet on the house.
Does the passphrase mean anything?
Yeah, it means you don't get shot.
Right. Well, I'll keep that in mind.
Be sure you do. If you get this last job done, full access to my stash, at a discount even, just because I like you. Get moving, watch out for raiders, and do not lose that package. Good luck.
With that, he gives us medical supplies to deliver to Westside. We explored Westside in my last video, but one place we didn't explore was Miguel's pawn shop. Inside, we find a small shop, and by the desk we see two people. The first is Miguel, the proprietor of this shop.
If you're down on your luck and need some caps, I buy just about anything. Of course, I've also got plenty of things for sale, too.
Have you been in Westside long?
My grandfather opened up this shop. Took over from him when the fiends killed him.
Okay, show me what you got for sale.
Of course.
He has a decent stash of caps and a pretty useful supply of ammunition. But the main point of interest is the man sitting behind the counter. Contreras told us to meet with Price, but this man's name is Keller. Where's Price?
What do you want?
Have you seen a guy named Price around?
We work together. I'm handling his deliveries for the moment while he handles a business opportunity that came up.
Oh, well, I'll come back when he's around.
Goodbye.
Or we can give him the passphrase, and we find two options to botch it. We could say, Brahmin tipping is a cherished pastime.
What? Look, do you have something to drop off or not?
Or we could try, do you like gambling?
What? Look, do you have something to drop off or not?
Well, never mind.
Crazy wastelander.
Or we can use the correct passphrase and say, I'm looking for some betting advice.
What? Look, do you have something to drop off or not?
But he has the same response as if we used the wrong passphrases, which means he doesn't know it. But if he was truly standing in for Price, he would know it. Price would have told him. There's something fishy about this. And if we have a perception of 7 or greater, we can call him out on it. Come on, guy. You're no merchant. You've got NCR Ranger written all over you.
What? How the hell did you figure that out?
We could draw our weapon and say, and now I'm gonna kill you, you lying jerk.
Whoa, hold on a minute, honey.
Whoa! Here we go.
This is a quick way to finish the quest, but we really don't get any answers. So instead we could say, well, I just knew you were a ranger because I'm perceptive, and I assume you have nothing for sale, so I'll be on my way.
Hell, thought I'd done a better job than that. Well, if that's how it is, you can call me Ranger Keller. Price is in deep with the NCR for supplying drug ingredients to the local gangs. He's currently being held for questioning. What is your business with Price?
Now, we could hand over Contreras' medical supplies to this guy, but if we do, that's the evidence this NCR Ranger needs to put Contreras behind bars. So at this point, our only way to get out of this without killing him or giving ourselves up is to pass a 70 speech check to say, oh, I was just told he was a local merchant, and I should check him out.
All right, if you hear anything, report it to myself or Lieutenant Boyd immediately. We need to track down his source.
Having avoided tipping him off, we could leave and head back to Contreras. But let's say that we didn't pass the perception check, and we didn't simply walk away. In that case, we could say, well, your password was close enough. Yeah, Contreras told me to give Price this package.
Let's see here. Congratulations. You're under arrest for chem trafficking. Hand over your weapons and come with me.
You'll never take me alive, pig.
Good. Saves me paperwork.
Watch out!
Or instead of killing him, we can say, who are you?
Ranger Keller. I've been undercover for months tracking chems in this area. This has to be the easiest catch yet.
I had no idea the package had chems. Contreras gave it to me.
Contreras, huh? We suspected he was involved somehow. It looks like you just gave me the evidence I've been looking for.
At this point, we can pass a 60 speech check to say, sir, I didn't know anything about this. Or a 7 charisma check to say, hey, I'm just the messenger. I didn't know anything about this. Both options get the same response from Keller.
You know what? I believe you. You're free to go. Contreras, however, won't be moving drugs ever again.
What's gonna happen to him?
He'll be shot. We have no tolerance for chem dealers in the military.
Well, I can't just let him be killed. Word of this stops here.
I have Contreras. No one is going to miss you.
Watch out! Here we go.
Or instead of killing him, we find two options that have the same result. We could pass a 70 barter check and pay this guy 250 caps to say, I'm sure Contreras would be willing to work with you.
I wouldn't normally do this, but seeing so much money change hands between scumbags on a daily basis has me thinking. I'm never going to be able to track all of these bastards down without some help, and Contreras seems to be a central hub of activity. Tell Contreras I'm willing to put in a good report with the brass if he cooperates. Just give me a cut of the action and report any major moves.
Or an 80 speech check to say the same thing. I'm sure Contreras could work with you.
It might work since he's acting as a major hub for this activity. It's not like he has much choice now that we have evidence. If you can convince Contreras to work with the Rangers to break up the drug ring, I'll call off the firing squad. Just report back to me when he's agreed to make the deal. Otherwise, he's dead.
So we have quite a few outcomes depending on the choices we made with Keller. All of them, however, send us back to Contreras. Back at the supply shack, we can tell Contreras that Price is being held by the NCR. A ranger replaced him.
Ah, shit. Well, please tell me you didn't hand him the package.
If we manage to get away from Keller without tipping our hand and letting him know that we had the chems, we find an option to hand the package back to Contreras and say, nah, but he's definitely looking for you.
Thank God. You're gonna need to take him out. If McCarran hears I've been selling contraband, we're both dead.
And he sends us to go kill him. Or, if he did sniff us out and took the chems from us, we can say, I didn't really have a choice.
Now you're just gonna have to take him out. I can't afford having NCR knowing about my side business. And I don't think you want to go in front of a firing squad either. You take care of this, my entire stock is available to you. Hell, I might even throw in something extra to sweeten the deal.
And he again sends us to kill the Ranger. Now we have a few options here, depending on the dialogue choices we made with Keller. We could side with Contreras and say, I'll kill him. Consider it done.
Don't come back until his corpse is rotting in the sunlight. The last thing I need is a do-gooder ranger trying to take me down.
Or we could take the opportunity to get some cabs out of this guy and pass a barter check of 50 to say, killing a ranger brings big risks. Killing gets expensive.
All right, here's a little something in advance. Now get the job done.
He gives us 150 bottle caps and the note, kill Keller. Contreras insists that Keller must be killed in order to avoid any further entanglements with the NCR. If we choose this route and head back to Keller,
What did Contreras say?
we can draw our weapon and say, we agreed that you should die.
Contreras will still get his. Killing you will just save me some paperwork.
After killing him, we can head back to Contreras to get a nice pat on the head. The guy standing in for Price, Keller, is dead.
Good to hear. Well, I'd say you're officially invited to the big kid's table now. My stash is your stash. Oh, and I think you might get more use out of this rifle than I ever will. Enjoy.
He gives us a discount, invites us to explore his expanded inventory, and gives us this machine. But we can resolve this a few other ways. Let's say we don't want to side with Contreras, but we also don't want Boyd to put him behind bars. If so, Contreras has the same response, whether we pass an 80 speech check or an 80 barter check. So we'll go ahead and say, Keller's looking to break up the chem trafficking. Maybe there's some money to be had here.
That might just work. Tell him I'll cut him in on a bit of the profit and help him track down drug dealers if he'll give me a pass. The last thing I need is a do-gooder ranger trying to take me down.
And with that, Contreras agrees to become an NCR informant. We can head back to Keller to tell him the news.
What did Contreras say?
He said he would help you.
Great. Let him know we'll be keeping an eye on him. He is free to do business. But if he isn't regularly reporting on illegal transactions, he's a dead man.
With that, Contreras remains free. He does not get locked behind bars, and we don't have to kill anybody. And when we head back to Contreras, we can say, I convinced the ranger to work with you. You're safe, but be careful.
Good to hear.
And he again gives us a discount in his shop, invites us to explore his increased inventory, and gives us the unique weapon, this machine. Contreras has one of the best merchant inventories in the game. He has 8,000 caps to barter with, making him a great merchant where we can sell those gold bars from the Sierra Madre, and has some pretty rare ammunition. He sells quite a stash of chems and full suits of Mark II combat armor as well as NCR armor. This machine is a unique version of the semi-automatic battle rifle. Before installing the Gunrunner's Arsenal DLC, this is the only battle rifle in the game. Afterwards, we can buy other battle rifles from the Gunrunners. But this machine is a much better battle rifle than the others. It does a base damage of 55 compared to a battle rifle's 48, and it's much faster, dealing 2.14 attacks per second compared to a battle rifle's 1.93. This brings its DPS up to 117.9. It also has a lower action point cost, 22 compared to the battle rifle's 25, bringing the damage per action point up to 2.5 compared to a battle rifle's 1.9. It's more durable and has a higher critical damage. Overall, it's a superior weapon. The really unique thing about this weapon is carved on the stock, we find the words, "Well, this machine kills commies," which doesn't make a whole lot of sense until we understand the reference here. This weapon is a direct reference to the folk singer Woody Guthrie, who is probably most famous for writing the popular song "This Land Is Your Land." On his guitar, he had a sticker that read, "This machine kills fascists." So it seems that whomever owned this machine in the past was responding directly to Woody Guthrie. His machine may kill fascists, well, this machine kills commies. It's a pretty decent weapon, especially since we can find it rather early in the game. It takes 308 rounds, which are a bit easier to find than the 4570 government rounds used by the medicine stick, which you see me use frequently in my gameplay. Really, my biggest criticism of this gun is the sight. It obscures a bit of my view, so when using iron sights, it's a bit tricky to use. I much prefer the sight on the medicine stick, but it's still a pretty powerful gun. With that, we solve the mystery of the missing supplies at Camp McCarran, but we have one final task to do. Heading back to Vault 22, which I covered in a previous video, we can explore the vault to find some sort of food additive to improve troop mood. To find it, we take the elevator all the way down to the 3rd level. This is the food production level of the vault. After arriving on the 3rd floor, we walk straight down the hallway from the elevator. At the end of the hall, we turn left and then take the first left into the first room we find. Heading through the room and passing through a door into a research room, we find the food additive sitting on a desk next to the restored terminal and a chemistry station. Heading back to Camp McCarran, we can check in with Corporal Farber.
Howdy, looking for chow?
This spore pod extract from Keeley should help with troop morale.
No shit. The stuff actually does all that, huh? I'll have to start testing this out immediately. This will really help keep the guys focused.
And with that, we complete his quests, but all we get is positive NCR reputation. Although I read that there is a bug with this quest, sometimes we don't even get that. While completing these quests for the NCR at Camp McCarran, the NCR take notice and go out of their way to reward our efforts. At some point, we will likely be approached by an NCR ranger.
You've done a good turn for the NCR, and now we'd like to do one for you. There's an NCR emergency two-way radio. You call, and we'll come running. You're not alone out here. The NCR has your back. Stay safe and good hunting.
He gives us the NCR emergency radio. This radio appears in the aid section of our inventory, and when we activate it, we find 4 options. We can cancel, or we can call in for NCR supply support. After doing this, we get the quest Emergency Radio. If we track it on our Pip-Boy, it will point us to some nearby location. Sometimes the NCR ranger who gave us the radio will appear again to tell us that he dropped off the shipment, and then he runs off. If we follow the Pip on our map, it brings us to an NCR supply cache, which will have a random assortment of goods. In this case, I found some metal armor and a power fist. Upon opening the chest, we complete the emergency radio quest. However, we can't abuse this. We can only call in for support every 24 hours. If we try to do so again, it says NCR support exhausted. The next option is to call for NCR trooper support. Upon making the call, we wait around for a while. Then off in the distance, we see an NCR trooper running our way.
Trooper ready to fight.
He comes equipped with mid-level gear, and he'll follow us around like a temporary companion. However, in my game, this was really bugged. The trooper never engaged in combat with any of the enemies who attacked me. Instead, he turned tail and ran away. I had to chase after him to find him. I tried this 3 different times with my trooper, and each time he just ran off into the distance. I don't know if this was a quirk in my game, or if this is intentional. Maybe the NCR trooper is a coward. The next option is to call for NCR Ranger support. Just like last time, we wait around, but instead of a trooper, this time a ranger appears.
Ranger at the ready.
I got attacked almost after summoning this ranger, and she did engage in combat. When I got attacked by a fiend, she helped out. However, when I tried to cross a bridge, my ranger ran off again. She ran off into the distance, and even after the battle, she just never came back. I'm thinking there must be line of sight issues with these guys, which sadly makes the radio less than helpful. But the next perk they give us is if we do enough quests here at McCarran to raise our reputation with the NCR above liked, the next time we talk with Colonel James Shue...
We're all impressed with the work you've done for us. Thought you might be able to make use of this. It's a key to a little hideaway south of here. We've used it as a place for rangers to rest and resupply. I thought you might get good use out of it.
He gives us a key to the NCR safe house and marks the location on our map. We find the safe house just north of Black Mountain. The safe house is easy to miss. It has a simple shack door in the side of a cave. Upon entering, we go through a short tunnel in the cave to find a shack at the other end. Inside, we find 3 bedrooms in the shack, each of which is wired with electricity. We can flip on the lights. The first room is a bit of a break room. We see a coffee machine, radio, and stools on a nearby bar, and in the back we find shelves of goods. This is a great place to hit to get ammunition. We also find a hunting revolver, a trail carbine, and an assault carbine. On the next shelf over, we find a bunch of great armor, a full suit of NCR salvaged power armor on the bottom, NCR Ranger patrol armor on the middle shelf, along with a Ranger hat, and on the top shelf, a full suit of NCR Ranger combat armor. Next to this, we find a reloading bench, and sitting at a table is Ranger Gomez.
How can I help you?
Why are you here?
I'm here to dust off the cobwebs, make sure everything is working, that sort of thing. Sometimes it can be a while between visits by rangers, so it's good to have someone around to keep the lights on for them. I also bring ammo supplies with me for any rangers who may be running low. If you need any, feel free to ask.
Are you always here?
My duties tend to take me elsewhere, but I try to be here at least a few days out of the week.
I could use some ammo.
Certainly. Which type of ammo would you like?
We can then choose the kind of ammo we want: ballistic ammo, energy weapon ammo, or explosives. We'll choose regular for now.
Here you go.
And she gives us a random stash of ammo. In the next room, we find a bunch of Ranger bunks. All of the containers here are empty, the lockers and the footlockers. But we can use any of these beds we want to become well rested. We could try to use this as a player home, however, Gomez may take whatever we lay down, including food and drink, so we need to be aware of that. The final room in the safe house just contains a bunch of generators, presumably keeping the lights on. And with that, we complete all of the quests at Camp McCarran and ingratiate ourselves with the NCR. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about dealing with Contreras. Which did you think was the best option? Was it better to turn him into Boyd to make sure that he saw jail time, to simply kill him, or to negotiate a deal with Keller to turn him into an NCR informant? The best option in terms of gameplay is clearly leaving him alive. That way we still have access to his great inventory. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I publish new videos every single week here on my channel, so if you want to make sure you don't miss my next video, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I've got a brand new shirt in the shop, folks. Mankind Redefined. On one side, we see Da Vinci's famous Vitruvian Man, and on the other, we see a rather synthetic version. My shirts come in a wide array of colors and in a variety of both men's and women's sizes. My designs also come in other products: smartphone cases, mugs, pillows, posters, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for a brand new video.